All right, everyone. We have, I would say, about 10 people in here. I'm going to wait until about 3:01 and then I think it's okay to start and just let people in as they come. There's usually a few people that come in late. If you just hopped in, by the way, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Make new friends, make sure to add your contact information so people can contact you afterwards. And of course, after this session, all of this information will be provided so that you can connect one another. So if you miss it, that's all right too. And after saying that, it is now 3:01. Just to double check, can everyone see my screen? All right. So welcome everyone. This is our virtual connection session about AIM database with ArtPride NJ. I'm going to go through this quickly to make sure that Jim has all the time to give you this wonderful and great and resourceful information. So to go over the agenda for today, I'm just going to briefly go over some SJCA updates, which also include some opportunities for organizations. And then right after that, we're just going to go straight into ArtPride's presentation. So to start off, I just want to go over some general SJCA updates. If you are if you receive our newsletter, you've probably seen this today, but it's always good to remind someone. We have moved. We want to make sure that you update your records. We now receive mail through address 174 South New York Ave, PO Box number 142 at Oceanville, NJ 08231. Our previous address at Stockton University, we will no longer be receiving mail. So just make sure to update this in any sort of your correspondence and records. A reminder, we also have membership. Feel free to renew your membership or sign up for membership if you haven't already. And if you're curious or interested in that, feel free to message me and we can have a private conversation discussing the benefits of South Jersey Cultural Alliance membership. We're also doing member features. If you are an artist or run an organization, sometimes people run both, let me know. We can do a feature. We recently did a feature on Lauren Dan from South Jersey Artist Collective and recently did a feature for the Marie Rader series at Rowan University. And then next week, we are collaborating with the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. They're doing a session discussing the New Jersey Heritage Fellowship. I'll be in attendance at that session, give a brief, quick overview on South Jersey Cultural Alliance, and also just there as a support. This is more specific to South Jersey artists and organizations, but make sure to attend if you're able to, and that information will be provided later. All right. Now to opportunities. So there are a lot of opportunities coming up. New year, new opportunities. We have the New Jersey State Council on the Arts Creative Aging Initiative Grant. The application already opened on January 7th, and the deadline is February 27th at noon. There's also the webinar watch party series for financial management for arts nonprofits. This is a really great series that provides a lot of really in-depth information that's super crucial for everyone. The next session is February 12th at 1:30 p.m. It's 1:30 to 3 p.m. and you will be participating and talking with others, so make sure you're very aware during that entire session and dedicate the time appropriately. There's also the New Jersey Historical Commission, which has the County History Grant FY25 program guidelines. The deadline for that is April 3rd, 2025. For organizations that are interested or know someone that is, there is additional information with that, and Tanya will provide that in the chat along with our follow-up email. And then the last two follow-ups are the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, New Jersey Heritage Fellowships. If you know of an artist that would be great for this. The early nomination deadline did pass, but the final deadline for the nomination is February 6, 2025. There's 2 more sessions. One of them, which I mentioned earlier, will be in attendance as we're collaborating to really push and make sure South Jersey is aware. So feel free to look into that and check it out. And then, like I said, this is the same opportunity we talked about before. So I got through that very quickly. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the chat. But I do want to hand it off to AIM Database with ArtPride NJ with Jim Atkinson. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Great, thanks so much for having me. Can you give me the screen share?
I took my audio. Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, you should be able to do it.
Thank you so much. Really happy to be here. Definitely see some familiar faces. But for those who don't know me, my name is Jim Atkinson. I am the Director of Programs and Services at ArtPride New Jersey. ArtPride is the state's largest art service organization. We do the political advocacy work that you may be familiar with, where we're looking and lobbying for arts funding at the grassroots and grass tops level. So we do both local, state, and federal lobbying for funding, but we also do a wide variety of programs and services for the field. And I'm really happy to be here to talk with you about some of what we're doing. Definitely going to focus today on data, audience data specifically, and our Audience Insights Manager program, or AIM as we like to call it. This is something we do in partnership with TRG Arts. If you're not familiar with TRG, they are a really large arts consulting firm that work both here in North America as well as over in the UK. We've been working with them on this program for a really long time, well over a decade. And then we do this through funds supported by the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, or Friends of the Arts Council. So first off, like, what is it, right? What is AIM? So AIM is a community patron database of what we call qualified cultural consumers contributed to by participating arts groups across New Jersey. So what do we mean by a qualified cultural consumer? So these are not folks who look like or project to be arts consumers. The only way they get in this database is if they're contributed to by one of the participating organizations. So everyone in this database is buying a ticket, attending an event, being a member, subscribing to something. They are participating in the arts through the network of participating groups. Currently, there are 47 organizations across the state that participate in the program. And that has created a database of nearly 2 million unique households. So that's a really big data set. Could be bigger, but it is a really big data set. To put that in some sense of frame, there's about 3.5 million households in the state of New Jersey. Now, not all 2 million of these are in New Jersey, because obviously we have consumers that live outside the state. But just to give it a sense of how big the database is, it's a really big database. Another big question we get, particularly in South Jersey, are patrons that come from other markets. So it is true that AIM is a bit underrepresented in South Jersey, and that's one of the reasons why actually we're really here and anxious to talk with you all about getting more groups from South Jersey to be part of the data set. But the patrons come from groups in Philadelphia and New York. So specifically, we talk about South Jersey. So Philadelphia and New York both manage a very similar program to this using the same database tool through TRG. So a few years ago, what we did is we negotiated a deal with Philadelphia and then subsequently with New York, where the audiences that are in South Jersey but attend Philadelphia organizations are also available to you through this tool. So it allows cross-market data sharing. It goes both ways. They're very interested in our data. We're very interested in theirs. But it really beefed up the amount of patrons that are available through the database in South Jersey because you've got all the Philadelphia groups as well. So what did that do to the size of our data set? It's now 124 organizations with 8.3 million unique households. So unique households meaning if there's 2 patrons in one household, they count as one household. So it is a really big data pool that we get to play in. So then it's like, well, how does it work? Well, if you subscribe to AIM, your organization would just upload your patron data to secure TRG data center. That's the tool. Data center is the tool. AIM is the program, data center is the tool. We sometimes use them interchangeably because they really mean the same thing, but AIM is the name of the program, data center is the name of the actual tool. Then we match that with contributed data from the other arts organizations that participate, and we bounce it off third-party databases. So we really use Axiom. If you're not familiar with Axiom, it is like the big brother database that tracks your digital footprint and knows a lot about you. We bounce this data off Axiom, and it returns back to you significantly more information on your patrons than you would know independently. I'll get into that in a little bit about what that looks like. Once you have that data, you can then choose whether you want to make segments of your data available to trade with other organizations or keep it all private and just use it all for your internal use. That's available to you to decide. It's like literally checkboxes next to your data segments. I'll make this data segment available. I won't make the other ones. I can change it any time. It's really literally a checkbox. So there are certainly advantages to putting trade segments available out there, but you're not required to at all. So then, okay, great. I have this audience data. How does it help my organization? Well, there's a lot of ways, and this is really not all of them because groups are always finding innovative new ways to use the data. But first, you can certainly market your programs that you're doing more effectively to your existing patrons by using data to target your messaging. So I'll just give you some, for instance, right? For instance, you're a performing arts center and you're doing a dance program. And you're like, great, I'm marketing this to my dance patrons, but I would do an extended offer. So I'll do like an extra 10% off to another segment of my data who doesn't ordinarily attend dance as a way to get those folks in the door. You can do that because you know more about your data or your patrons. Or let's say you're doing a camp and your camp is only available for ages, 6 through 12. You can go into your database and specifically target patrons that have kids in the household those ages because now you know that. So this is, there are two, of 1,000 ways you can use it, but you know so much more about your patrons, you can customize your target and your messaging to them to make it more effective, rather than just blanketing them with everything. You can also identify donors. So you're going to learn a lot about the demographics and psychographics of your audiences because we get that data through Axiom. So you could say, well, I'm doing an individual giving campaign. Instead of sending everybody the same thing, I could send one message to folks who have a household income of 250,000 plus. I could send a different message to folks who have 100,000 to 250. I could send a different message to folks who are under 100,000 in the household. You can just figure out how you want to customize that. So you could say, you could see, well, I have this number of households in my database with a household income of 50,000 or less. So I'm going to send them like every dollar counts. Like even a $5 donation helps. But I'm not going to send that same message to households with $250,000 plus. I'm going to hit them with a different ask. So you can do all that because this data will tell you that information. You can also grow your audience, as I mentioned, by using data on audience behaviors. And this is what you would do through targeted list trade. So when we say make your data available to trade, list trading has been going on since the beginning of time. It's still a very effective way to identify new patrons. But in the past, when you didn't have data to do it, organizations would say, I want to do a list, my theater wants to do a list trade with your theater. It's not how it works through AIM. If you're a theater, you could say, I would like to trade lists to get theater patrons within 20-mile radius of my venue. And the AIM data center tool will identify patrons who are not on your list, but who live within 20 miles, who attend theater, no matter where they're coming from. Pull those people and send it to you in a list trade. So it's a much better, more efficient way to do list trades. And that does cross market. So you can do that with groups in New Jersey here and also in Philadelphia. I will say that any list trade request is only available to the segments that people make available for trade and still have to be approved. So you'll, like, if you make a data list segment available and you get a list trade request, you may, normally we obviously encourage you to approve them, but you may have a mailer going out the same time or an event the same night. And you say, hey, listen, I can't let this one go out because we have something competing going on the same time. So you still have another layer of protection. But it is a really good way to identify new patrons in your area. If you're into fundraising and you're like me and you have to write grants, it's another great way to provide actual audience demographics to funders, because funders always ask about your audiences. You're using real data to provide who your audiences are. If you're actively engaged in EDI efforts, this is how you can both benchmark and measure who your audiences are, because this demographic information is very reliable, and you can say, well, this is what the demographics of our audience look like now. This is what 2 years later, this is what it looks like. Have we indeed moved the needle? Are we doing anything? You'll really know who you're reaching. We've seen organizations use this data to actually develop programming based on who patrons are versus who they think they are. We've seen groups say, hey, we thought our audience looked this way, so that's what we've been programming. We actually found out our audiences look very different. We've shifted our programming and we've seen big increases because they're better serving people because they know who they are versus who they think they are. This one kind of came up out of the blue a few years ago, but an organization lost their entire patron database, did not have a secure backup of it, but used AIM and had a backup database of their entire patron database, secure at no extra charge. In addition, any data you put in here is contributing to the aggregate census data that ArtPride uses when we talk about local, statewide, national research and advocacy. When we talk about what an arts patron looks like, how they act, what their behaviors are, we use this data to formulate that. So by participating in AIM, in addition to all the direct benefits you're getting, you're also contributing to a larger statewide aggregate census data. So there's a lot of reasons, and this isn't even all of them, but certainly these are a lot of reasons how AIM is important and how AIM helps your organization. So I'm going to put a pause button there and see if there are any initial questions just about this, like what it is and how it works.
Just so you know, I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anyone's comfortable, you can unmute and ask a question as well.
It's a pretty small group, so. No? I must be doing a great job of explaining. Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and move on. This is what some patron data looks like. So this is literally a sample of what we call our Discover Jersey Art subscribers. These are people that have accounts on our website, qualified accounts on our website. There are about 40,000 of them. And I'm comparing the demographics of them versus the entire audience in SiteSmith based on the entire community database. You can compare this to anything. I could compare 2025 to 2023. I could compare segments of my data with other segments of my data. For the purpose of this conversation, I literally ran a report where I took our subscriber database, compared it against the entire Audience Insights Manager community database to see what do we look like compared to others. This is based on generation. So you can see blue is baby boomers, red are Gen X, that kind of tealy color is millennial, the gray are Gen Z, and the kind of tealy color are greatest generation. So interestingly, looking at this, we have a larger segment of baby boomers compared to the field at large. Not as much of Gen X, which kind of dovetails into our philosophy. We are targeting Gen X very heavily right now in our current marketing materials, partially based on this. I mean, partially just based on that's a national trend. But this is reinforcing to us that, yes, we are light in our Gen X category. We need to lean heavier into that and pull back from targeting baby boomers because that's the direction we're going in. So this data was kind of helpful when we formulated our marketing plan. We could break that age down into 2-year increments if we wanted to. Again, you can see here the green are our folks, the blue are like the field at large. So we can see where we're comparing our ages. We can look at it from an education standpoint. So in this data slide here, you've got gray are folks who have high school degree versus red who have 4-year degree, and greenish color who have graduate school. So our audience is slightly more educated, if you want to look at it that way, but also dovetailing into our marketing that we are targeting more folks with just a college degree. So we're trying to balance out what we're doing versus what we're seeing the trends in the industry. This is a really interesting slide to me because having looked at this data for 15 years, one thing had always been true up until like kind of COVID, which was that education level was a greater predictor of arts consumption than income had been. We're learning that has flipped itself on its head since COVID recovery. which in a way is really good because it means that we are reaching out to a broader audience, but the cost of attending the arts are making it prohibitive for some. So this is an interesting narrative that's begun to play itself out. Side note. We can also look at this from a race standpoint. So again, our audience is roughly 85% white, which is a little heavier than the field at large, which is closer to 79%. And you can see the other segments here of the green here representing Hispanic audiences, the red Asian audiences, and the blue African American audiences. So we're looking again at what we need to do to move our diversity efforts forward as the field has to move forward as a whole. But we can look at this data and we can benchmark it and look back and see how that needle is or isn't moving over time. This is something we're very interested in. As I mentioned, income, this used to be a much flatter line. We're seeing a dramatic drop off, both at ArtPride and the field at large, for organizations that, for individuals that have a household income of less than $65,000 a year. You see it kind of fall off a cliff. The largest segment, I mean, we're kind of mirroring the field here pretty well. The largest segment being of those in the $100,000 to $150,000 household income level, and then you can see how it moves beyond that. But it's interesting, again, you know, if you looked at this 10 years ago, this would not have been such a sharp decline as what it is today. Again, and this isn't even everything you can do. These are literally just some of the fields you can pick out. But another one I thought was interesting to look at was presence of children in the household. They define children by under 18 years of age, so 17 or under. Our database, we have roughly 61% do not have children in the household, but the field, it's closer to 50-50 match. It's like 49-51. You can dig this down and take this as deep as age of children in the household. You can dig deeper than just this kind of big number. I didn't go quite that far. Did do a heat map. I mean, this is always fun for us to look at. This tells us where our patrons are coming from across the state. The darker green are the more dense number of households we have, whereas it gets lighter green and then yellow is where it starts to phase out. And again, you can see our audiences are definitely beyond, you know, just the confines of New Jersey. But it's kind of interesting, especially some of those outer counties. It's kind of interesting how we kind of got them. And this is, again, this is not the whole database. This is literally like the DJA database, Discover Jersey Arts database. Excuse me.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
I actually have a question. I was
Awesome.
wondering, so for people using this resource, does
Mhm.
it easily explain what you're understanding from these charts and data, or is that something that if a person was confused, they could reach out to ArtPride to get a better understanding of what their data
Sure.
mean, or is there a working group for that?
Yeah. Yes to all of the above. So they're fairly self-explanatory. The labels are pretty clear. However, I'm not the best person to ask. We have, and you're ahead of me a little bit, but that's good. That's fine. We have a dedicated person at TRG who's there to answer questions and help you through the process. His name is Andrew Kotler. So yeah, so the answer is yes, they're fairly self-explanatory. They're pretty easy to understand. But you're also, if you come in and you do get onboarded, you get sent training videos, and then Andrew is there to kind of help you get set up and along. And he's also there to help you along the way. So you're not on your own. It is not a spectator sport. In other words, you can't just subscribe and do nothing. You do have to put some time into it. I always try to tell groups who are new to AIM that don't try to do everything in the first year, because you can get overwhelmed if you let it overwhelm you. But if you say, well, in year one, I just want to get my data in there, run some basic reports and understand my audiences. In year two, I want to get into really list trading, or I want to figure out how to do this or that. Year three, you can set yourself annual goals so that by 3 years in, you're using it as a power user. Versus trying to do everything at once, especially if you have limited capacity on your staff. Our Pride's a very small team. We are 7 people all in. That's the entire organization, start to finish, for everything that we do. So we, believe me, struggle with capacity the same way as everybody else does. And it took us, stages and years to get into how we use it. And frankly, we're with a lot of turnover in the past couple of years. We're kind of reinventing ourselves here as well. So I hope that answers the question. Did I answer that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was great. And just to clarify too, so maybe organizations that aren't familiar or thinking of using it, this could be a good thing to think of for your, like, whether you have a current strategic plan or you're making one of like a long-term kind of build up goal to
Yeah.
get to a point where this is really resourceful, useful data, but it's like more of a long-term buildup.
I encourage people to think of it that way. You know, we
Okay.
always have the occasional group that subscribes to AIM and then opts out after their first year, which triggers us to follow up. And more often than not, what I hear is it didn't work for me, and I'll say, okay, tell me why, and like, well, I never logged in. So while I never
Mhm.
logged in and it didn't work for me are not the same thing, right? If you don't log in, if you buy anything, right, and you don't ever use it, then it wasn't the tool, right? It was that you didn't put any time into it. So I will
Yeah.
always say to groups, I understand challenges with capacity and time, believe me, but knowing who your patrons are should not be a secondary thing you need to do. Like you really, I can't imagine like how many things have to go above. I need to know who I serve and how I can serve them. And that's where AIM comes in. I mean, AIM is there to literally do what it says it does, which is to give you insights into your audiences. How you use that insight can vary over time. It's not a one size fits all. There are organizations, believe me, that use AIM every day. We have groups that use AIM literally every single day for every decision they make. That's not for everybody. You know, that's not going to be every organization, and that's okay. It's finding out how does AIM fit you and how can you benefit from it. That's the key. We have other groups that use AIM, you know, hey, I use it 2 or 3 times a year. Great. You know, that's fine. That's okay too. We're not telling you that everybody has to become a power user, but it's how does it fit you and how does it support what you're doing? But at the end of the day, understanding who your audiences are, that I think we could all agree that should be a priority for the industry.
Yeah. Thank you.
So another really fun report, because there's so many reports you can choose to run, but a basic report you can run is called the crossover. So this literally tells you um, what other organizations in my database do I cross over with the most? Because I've been saying this since the beginning of time and I'll never stop saying it. Your patrons are not your patrons, I promise you. People are culturally promiscuous by nature. They're going to visit other organizations, and it's okay. Because what data says is the more people that attend the arts, the more they will attend the arts. And in today's climate, believe me, even more so than it used to be, there are not a lot of people that we call single users. There are a lot of people that are multi-users. We once had a person in a database that was a 40-time multi-user, meaning they appeared on 40 different lists in the site. People attend the arts, they attend the arts. And it's a great myth busting tool as well. So to that end, I prepared a little quiz because I love little quizzes. I picked 3 organizations in South Jersey who currently participate in AIM, and I want to see if you can guess who they have the largest crossover with. So Symphony and C, you know, would you guess, and I'll say, Joanne, I'm going to pick on you to do the guessing, that they would have a larger crossover with Apple Farm, Grounds for Sculpture, Wheaton Arts, or New Jersey Symphony? And if you looked at the slide deck in advance, no cheating.
I'm I'm just gonna throw a guess. I'm gonna say they have more in common with New Jersey Symphony.
They have the most in common with Grounds for Sculpture.
Okay.
So you wouldn't think that, right? You would not think that. But Symphony and C has the largest crossover with Grounds for Sculpture. Same question for Apple Farm. You're here, Heather. So I'm curious if you know the answer to this one. Who do you have the largest crossover with? Ritz Theater, Rowan, Symphony of C, or McCarter? I'm going to pick on Heather Yell. She is here, right?
She was earlier. Let me see.
Did I scare her off? She's like, no, I'm not
Oh
answering.
no. Oh yeah, she accidentally got booted.
Is she
Oh,
back?
let's see. Heather, are you back with us?
Okay. Well,
Not all guess
Oh,
she's not
again.
sorry.
here.
Sorry about that.
Oh, Heather is here.
Okay.
Heather, I picked on you because you were one of the ones I just randomly
Great.
chose. So you may know the answer if you're looking at your crossover, but if you're
I
not,
will.
who do you think you have the largest crossover on this list with?
I'm gonna say Ritz Theater.
It's McCarter Theater Center.
Oh, jeez.
That's your largest crossover audience.
Right.
Interesting, right? Data busting or myth busting is great. And I'm going to do the same thing for the Ritz. I don't know if anybody from the Ritz is here because I can't see the full list. But again, Joanne, I'll ask you, like, who would you guess the Ritz Theater of these groups would have the largest crossover with? So State Theater in New Jersey, McCarter Theater Center, Wheaton, or George Street.
I'm gonna guess Wheaton.
And it's State Theater in New Jersey, which is a performing arts center in New Brunswick. So again, this is reinforces the idea that people attend the arts in New Jersey. They are not afraid to travel a bit more than other markets because we are a bit more transient than other markets. We're not focused on a single big city like Philadelphia or New York, right? We are by nature going to be a little transient. This just tells you that there's a lot of flexibility when you look at audiences, when you target audiences, when you're trying to find them. This imaginary divide between South Jersey and the rest of the state does not actually exist. People are very willing to cross boundaries. They're invisible boundaries. And here's 3 examples of cornerstone groups in South Jersey that share a lot of information with groups outside of South Jersey. That's their literally largest crossover market, is with groups not even in the South. So I did that just sort of as a little fun experiment. But at the end of the day, the question really is, how does all this audience data help my organization, right? It's all about that evolution of a patron. So, you want to get people from being a prospect. There's lots of ways to look at these charts, but you want to get them to become a prospect to maybe a single ticket buyer, hopefully a repeat ticket buyer, hopefully become a multi-ticket buyer, hopefully become a subscriber, hopefully move up to a donor, right? You want to move them up that ladder. And the way to do that is by finding the right people with the right message at the right time. And AIM is not going to do all of that for you, but it's certainly going to be a great tool in the toolbox to help you really better understand like who your audiences are. So this is kind of another chart that I like to look at, right? So this is based on new data that came out it came out fourth quarter 2024. 75% of buyers who are new buyers never will come back to your institution. That has nothing to do with you. That is just the nature of audience behaviors right now, nationally. These are national data in the marketplace. 80% of ticket buyers will visit you less than once per year, and it costs 3 times more for you, or 3 times less, depending on how you look at it, to retain a patron than it is to go out and attract a new. So using this data to talk to your audiences, to build relationships with your audiences, to give them good messaging based on who they are, is really important. And we are able to collaborate on this tool and make this tool available and affordable. 1, because we do it collectively. We share the cost. 2, we get funding from the State Arts Council to underwrite the cost. Otherwise, trying to do this independently, first of all, some of this you couldn't possibly do independently because you couldn't do a crossover report if you don't have data on anybody else. But even if you wanted to do this just on your own organization, it would be extremely expensive compared to what we're able to do since we do it collectively. Does that make sense? Yeah. So then, of course, the other big question, how much does it cost? We slashed these costs during when COVID hit, and we have yet to move them. So these are the prices right now. It's based on your organizational budget size and whether or not you're a member of ArtPride New Jersey or not a member of ArtPride New Jersey. The prices are right there. I don't have to repeat them, but it ranges between $125 and $500 a year for access to all of this. If you're an ArtPride member, and between $225 and $600 if you are a non-member. So how would you subscribe? You go to artpridenj.org/AIM, and there's a subscribe button there. Walks you through a form about how you set it up. The subscription year, it is an annual subscription year. It runs from February the 1st to January the 31st the following year. So AIM 2025 kicks in February 1. The deadline to subscribe to this is coming up next week. I think it's the 23rd, so it is coming up. You subscribe, and then you get access starting February 1. If you're new, you'll get onboarding materials directly from TRG Arts. We encourage you to watch some videos. Then you can set up a time with Andrew, and he'll walk you through that first setup. We do have, we're doing 3 AIM summits. They're virtual events for groups that participate in AIM. So 3 times a year, you'll be getting together with the other folks in the cohort. Andrew joins us from TRG for part of it. So he'll walk you through some these are trends that are going on nationally. This is the status of the big database, and he'll walk through that. Then this year, we're changing the format around a little bit. We'll then be going into breakout rooms for some peer-to-peer learning for the second half of those summits. So it'll be 45% presentation, 45-minute presentation, 45-minute small breakout session. And so you're getting, again, some some additional free professional development and some additional free peer-to-peer learning with other groups who are using the same data tool you're using. So it's not only focused on how we're using data, but it's how we're using data and then how is AIM specifically being used for that purpose, because everyone's using the same tool. So I
Hey,
certainly encourage you to think about that subscription. Again, Andrew Kotler is our dedicated consulting analyst. He works at TRG. So if you have questions, this is the guy you reach out to, not me, because he can answer them way better than I can. But you have access to him. Like, he's really good. He has, a Calendly set up right there, and you just book a time with him to talk about what you're interested in. Let me go backwards and hit a pause button. So that's a lot. I mean, I do have a few more things I want to talk to you all about, but that's a lot. But hopefully that gives you a sense of what AIM is. I do know there's some groups here. I see New Jersey Symphony. It's great to see New Jersey Symphony here. You all do have an AIM account already. As I said, you mentioned Apple Farm has one. Trying to see who else is in the room. Does anybody not have one who has questions about why they should have it or how it would help you or what's the point of this? Because I want to have, be here to answer those questions.
I see someone unmuted. Let's see. No, I do have a quick question. How can someone, so there's different prices if someone's an ArtPride member or not.
Yep.
And everyone feel free to put their questions in the chat if you don't want to say them out loud. But how can someone either become a member of ArtPride or know if they are a member of ArtPride?
Sure, yeah, great question. So ArtPrideNJ.org, there's a Meet Our Members page. So you find yourself there if you're a member. There's, if you want to join, there's a join button right on the ArtPrideNJ.org website. So you would join as an organization. We have different types of memberships. We have memberships for business partners. But if you're, it doesn't even matter. You can be a nonprofit or for-profit. Our membership serves both the nonprofit and for-profit sector, although the vast majority of our members are nonprofits. So you can just join right there at ArtPride. We are offering some introductory memberships. So you get that kind of a membership for free for a certain period of time before the paid kicks in. So you could even dabble with a free introductory membership if you wanted to. So, yeah.
And this is just another follow-up with that. And can you tell everyone too what the benefits of membership other than, this discount with AIM?
Yeah, there's a lot. So thanks for that opportunity. And that's a good segue. So first off, right out of the gate, by being a member of ArtPride, you're supporting the advocacy and political lobbying work that we do. Most of our funding that comes from outside sources cannot be used to support that work. For instance, none of our council funding can be used for that. So that's 100% funded through things like organizational membership. So it's really important for ArtPride to survive and to be able to provide those services and protect funding and to raise money for funding. To be able to do that, we can't do that without a thriving member base. So right out of the gate, that's certainly, if you get a grant from the council, either directly or indirectly, it's because ArtPride's been making that money available. Without ArtPride, I think it's safe to say it certainly would not be at this level. We also, as I mentioned, offer a wide variety of programs and services. We do that for a broader network called JAM, the Jersey Arts Marketers. So to be in JAM, there's one of three criteria. You can be an ArtPride member, you can be a direct grantee of the State Arts Council, or you could be a member of the New Jersey Theater Alliance. If you're any one of those three, you're in the JAM, you have opportunity to be in the JAM network. So anything we do like AIM, I'm going to walk you through some things we're doing with Discover Jersey Arts, which is one of our large cornerstone programs, is available to anyone in that JAM network, regardless of whether you're a ArtPride member or not. But again, whenever there's a paid cooperative piece of it, it will always be discounted for ArtPride members. Is that confusing or does that make sense?
That made sense to me. Did anyone have any questions regarding ArtPride, their membership, and also AIM database? I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to ask questions.
We're doing a webinar tomorrow that's for our members. that's really talking in depth about what's happening at both the state and federal levels for arts funding. So that's like a member benefit, having access to that kind of direct one-on-one. You get hearing it directly from the source, like what's happening. I mean, it'll probably trickle out to the field at large, but you're going to hear it first, you're going to hear it fast, and you're going to have direct contact with folks if you're a member of ArtPride. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move into some other stuff. So Discover Jersey Arts, again, cornerstone program that ArtPride's been doing since the year 2000. This was a program that was incubated at the State Arts Council back in the late 90s. And then ArtPride took over as the organization actually facilitated the program back in 2000. This is our business to consumer audience outreach programs. This is something we do to try to help build audiences for the arts in New Jersey. It's been through lots of incarnations over the years. Those who've been around for a long time may remember the first campaign we did with Susan Sarandon and Meryl Streep and Bebe Neuwirth. There was that. Then we entered a phase where we were doing a ton of cooperative advertising. We did a lot of that. We then had a membership program which ran for over 10 years, where individuals would create memberships. This is our next reboot, right? So this is kind of what we were working on right before the pandemic hit, and then what we were able to actually, we had to put it on the back burner for a while, obviously, but then we were able to reintroduce late last year. So in the summer, late last summer, we rolled out the new brand, the new logo design, and the newest incarnation of jerseyarts.com. So again, there have been multiple versions of jerseyarts.com over the years. What we called our legacy site, which had been around for a while, was primarily an event engine. So this was a place where you were encouraged to submit your events, and we would put the events up on the website. We had to take that site down when the pandemic hit because there weren't events. And at that point, we were pivoting more toward our storytelling anyway. This version of the site launched. This version of the site we were working on. Finally got it off the ground. Again, late last summer. This does have an event component to it, but it is not primarily an event engine. So there are events featured on the website, of course, but it is not like the primary thing. We're not trying to replicate what we did with the legacy site, because what we learned through research, working with a committee, a task force of organizations, as well as surveying we did with the field and with our users, analyzing traffic, is we determined that, there's lots of ways people can just find events, and we can't compete with Google. So we're not going to try to. We instead changed the direction, changed the scope of the site, and we are leaning heavily into our storytelling. So we publish a series of feature stories in the form of articles, podcasts, and full video packages, telling the stories about the arts across the state. They are geared toward an event going on. So we like to tell a story, and then you could go see the show. It may be about the playwright, it may be about the artist, it may be about the audiences themselves. Every story has a hook, but nonetheless, they are stories. We do about 90 stories a year, all told. So it's a fair amount of content we're putting out. We work with a team of freelance journalists to do this. Isaac Cerna Diaz, who is ArtPride's digital content manager, is the assignment editor, but he is working with a team of journalists to pull this content together. We are not writing the articles. We are not doing the videos. We are not producing the podcasts. That's not what we do well. Instead, we hire folks who do this professionally, and that's how we do it. So that is really the primary content driver for the site. But that being said, you can't have jerseyarts.com and have no events. So what we do instead is we do seasonal messaging campaigns where we group events around seasonal themes. These are curated calendars. So this is not a everybody post whatever and it's going to appear in the site. You're pitching us a story, you're pitching us an event, and we're going to try to mix that up. So what we're putting out to the public meets our goals of being geographically diverse, culturally diverse, inclusive, representing large, medium, and small size organizations. We can't do that if it's a free-for-all, everybody just post. We have then no control over what that messaging looks like. So instead, we control and we curate those calendars. And we do that. The most recent one we did was the holiday season. So we pulled together the Nutcrackers and Messiahs and Christmas carols and Kwanzaa events and New Year's Eve events, put them together on a calendar, push that out then to the public saying, this is what you can do this holiday season with your family. Find out what to do at jerseyarts.com. That's how our seasonal messaging calendars work throughout the year. We just recently put one up for the winter, but we're going to be leaning heavily into both Black History Month in February and Women's History Month in March. That's going to be the messaging that we really anchor it around. The one thing you can post to the event, to the site at any time, is if you're willing to offer a discount. So the discounts are the incentive for the consumers to create an account on the website. Why would I create an account on the website? You need to give me a reason. Well, the reason is if you create an account on the website, you can get access to discounts. Now, everybody sees the discounts, but you can't see how to redeem it when you would go on a landing page for this page. Can't see how to redeem it unless you log in. So you see 20% off. How do I get 20% off? Log in and see the promo code. That's how discounting on the site works. Now, these are not curated, so anybody who has a Jam account can log in and submit discounts. They just appear on the website. There's no curation there. So there's two ways your event can appear there. If it's strictly as an event, either you submit it as a discount or it gets curated to appear in a seasonal calendar. That event may then be elevated to be done a full story on. So that's another way. Now, I will say every organization, there are about 320, 330 that are affiliated with Jam, have a landing page in our directory. So that's your evergreen. Everybody gets that. It's a full page about you. It's searchable in the directory. Everybody gets access to that. But as far as specific events, which is what everybody asks, again, this is not primarily an event engine like the old website was. It has some events and it has discounting. If you do have an account, you manage all this through your My ArtPride member portal. So we wanted to streamline communication so that if you're doing business with ArtPride as an organization, you do it at ArtPride on the My ArtPride portal. If you're visiting us as a patron, you do it on jerseyarts.com through your My Jersey Arts portal. So there was a lot of confusion on some of the old legacy sites about where do I log in. We said we're going to remove all that. All communication with ArtPride as an organization, B2B, business to business, is done here on the ArtPride portal. Your consumer communication all goes on jerseyarts.com. But you would log in here, and from here you get access to your directory page, your profile, where you can edit the description, edit photos, anything like that. You can also, again, submit discounts here, and you can also submit an event to be considered or thought about for either a story or for to be featured in a messaging campaign. That's all done on the My ArtPride portal. So I'm going to pause again because I know there's sometimes confusion about that. So I want to make sure that I'm articulating that well, or it's clear why we're doing it this way. Questions, comments?
Actually, I have a question.
Sure. Who am I? Who's I?
My name is Artie. I live in Cherry Hill, New
Hi,
Jersey.
how are you?
Good. How are you, Jim?
Great, thanks.
Whatever you're explaining, it's so very insightful and very resourceful. My question is, my mother and I, we have a small company,
Okay.
and it's an arts and holistic wellness company. And so for the arts, what I do is I offer the henna body art. Offer the Indian dance workshop. So, and then I do Reiki healing also. Which platform would you think? Because I want to teach, I want to teach like within New Jersey or even in schools. That I want to teach the beautiful henna art as a class or the Indian dance as a workshop. What would you see? My question is, what platform I should use for me to like get ahead in these projects?
Sure. No, that's a great question. Let me ask you a question. So are your offerings available generally to the public? Or is
Yeah.
this more like I want to work through the schools?
I mean, right
Yeah.
now I'm doing it for the public, but I do want to get into like schools and universities, like offer
Right.
them as electives.
Gotcha. So if you have a public facing entity, so you're open to the public, then jerseyarts.com is great, right? Like, because you'll be available, like you're public facing, people will see you and find you. What we don't want to do is say, well, I do this out of my house part-time and I'm really not geared to the public, because you don't want, the public to say, well, this is your business, we're at your home. So there, it's like you might want to consider a business partnership with ArtPride, because you'll have like a different relationship with the organization. So our membership person, Marcy Peterson, is the best one to really dig into the details with you.
Okay.
And I can share with you her contact information. But my instinct, just from hearing what you're having to say, is if you joined ArtPride, it sounds to me, and I say sounds to me because, again, I always preface it by not knowing a ton about you, but the little bit you conveyed to me would sound like you could have a profile on jerseyarts.com. So you would be in the directory, you would be listed, and people could theoretically find you that way. You'd also, I mean, everybody who's on jerseyarts.com is also on the ArtPride portal, but doesn't always go the other direction, if that makes sense.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, if you're an ArtPride member, you're going to be on both if you're public facing, providing services for the public. Because again, jerseyarts.com is a consumer-based website. This is geared primarily for consumers looking what to do. Like I'm interested in this, I want to go look at what to do. It's it's not, say, geared for, like, say I have an online store. I'm an artist with an online store. That's great. There's a place for you in ArtPride, but jerseyarts.com is probably not the place for you, because again, it's the consumer isn't going to find where to go visit you at your home, right? That's not what they're looking for. So that's more of a business, and we have business relationships with those folks, because we do provide value through that mechanism. But yeah, so I would say to reach out to Marcy. She'll direct you into which area is best for you, like which relationship with ArtPride will work best for you, because we really don't want to make it a one size fits all for everybody, right? We want to provide value to our business partners and to the other groups that really provide value to them.
Yeah, because every business and organization has different needs.
Yeah, yeah, it really does. And first of all, we serve the entire state, which, anybody who lives in New Jersey knows that it really, I mean, I talk about indivisible barriers, but it really is like 5 markets. It's not one market. So that's an issue. And then, we serve NJ Pack is a member of ours, as, there are like people who run a 2-3 person volunteer music organization. They're members of ours too. We do performing and presenting, producing and presenting, visual. I mean, we have such a wide gamut of organizations that we work with, that it is sometimes a struggle to provide all that value. But we do work really hard to make sure everybody finds their place. But then we do also have those groups that fit better with us as a business partner, than what you would think of as a traditional arts organization, in the sense that, like, I can go visit Apple Farm, I can go visit Wheaton Arts, I can go visit the Ritz Theater. Like, it's a very different relationship that we're going to have with like the Spark Creative Group in Collingswood. We have a very different relationship with them. They're a business partner. So we'll find the right match for you, is what I would say.
Okay, thank you so much for answering my question. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I don't know if I answered it really well, but I did try.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm going to keep moving because we do have some more things I want to share with you. I see we're running a little low on time, but I think I'm doing pretty good. So to help support all this, we did put a new ad campaign in the field. So as I mentioned, the new brand and the new website launched like August. And we put the ad campaign in the field in October. And this is the TV spot that ran.
Waiting to see this show. I cannot wait. We're here already? We just left the house.
Hey, I got the tickets.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. Wait. I have to post this.
So much for the vibe, right? What I tell you?
There's so much to see. So close to home. You just gotta be here. Discover Jersey Arts at jerseyarts.com.
So this kind of messaging was created with a task force of organizations targeting things like, well, one, we really want to start encourage people to get out of the house, which is why you got to be here versus like actively or passively seeing things at home. We wanted to promote the new features of the website, like the podcast, the articles, the videos. We wanted to reintroduce the brand as the new website. And this ran on streaming television, transit, social, digital. Obviously, we did an email push for it, and we supplemented it with a direct mail campaign. We're going to be doing another round of ads in the spring. We're currently analyzing what worked best for the fall to help inform what we're going to do with the spring. The spring won't have quite as much money behind it as the fall did, but we will be repeating this, and this will be our evergreen campaign for at least the next several years. If you run our playbill ads, or you have your logo, if you have the Discover Jersey Arts logo on your website, we encourage you to update it with the new one, update the new assets, which all can be found at artpridenj.org under the resources column. You can see everything is there digitally to download.
And you have a question, Debbie?
Hi, Debbie.
Hey, Jim. Hey, everybody. This is great to see. I knew you were rolling something out, but I hadn't seen it yet. And I was curious of this bulleted list of this campaign. Where and how much did you target the 8 southern counties?
Yeah, we targeted pretty heavily, frankly. The transit included the high-speed line, for instance. So we had ads running on the high-speed line. It also included the Newark Trenton corridor, and again, some of the PATH trains. We absolutely looked at Camden, Burlington County specifically as really a heavy concentration of audience. So this area did get quite a bit of the streaming TV ran on Hulu and through Interconnect, which includes Comcast and Verizon. I know personally I saw it about a dozen times on my Hulu Live, including during CNN. Then again, the digital definitely included many areas of the South Jersey. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say even in North Jersey, we didn't target every area the same. We used our heat map to help inform our areas where we wanted to hit the hardest. So that data helped inform our ad campaign. We'll talk about how we use data, right? So we used AIM heat mapping to help inform this. It also didn't just appear in New Jersey. It ran heavily in Bucks County, ran heavily in Staten Island, because we draw really well from those counties. So we use that heat map to help inform it. But certainly South Jersey, I don't have like a direct dollar amount, and sometimes digital and streaming doesn't work quite that way. Like the old days of print where you could see this is around in this newspaper, right? But for sure, at least a third of it ran in the southern area.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. And again, if we go back and look at that heat map, we do have a pretty good concentration of our patrons here in South Jersey. I'm just going to run back to the heat map for a second. Sorry, I don't usually jump around like this, but it's a good question. Where are you? So yeah, again, if you look at this heat map, you see the southern 8 counties, there's a lot of green there. A lot of green there. Is it our highest penetration area? Like, no, central New Jersey tends to be our heaviest. We do really well in Mercer County. We do really well in Monmouth County. But you can see there's a lot of green. There's as much green in South Jersey as there is in North Jersey, if you really think of it that way. Sorry to jump around like that. It's a little jarring.
Okay, and I just want to say a 2-minute warning. Some people are hopping off as well.
Okay. Yeah. So again, just real quick, Jersey Arts Marketers, that's the same criteria we talked about earlier. ArtPride member organization, council, direct grantee, Theater Alliance member. We have virtual meetings coming up on March 11th and November 6th, and we're returning to in-person meetings. We're going to be doing half-day workshops in May and September. So this is our first time JAM will be meeting in person since the pandemic. You can get information at artpridenj.org/jam. And again, yeah, I'm Jim Atkinson. This is my contact information, which I'm sure Joanne will share with everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all.